Boom. All right. Welcome back, Gearheaddaily, everybody. I am with, go ahead and introduce yourself. We've just met, so go ahead and tell me your name and why are you calling me?
My name is Kayde Roylance, and I have to interview somebody in a job field that I'm interested in for English.
Okay. Right on.
Automotive journalism is one that I've looked into and I think would be fun.
Okay. And so how old are you?
I am 17.
All right. You don't have to say where you go to school. Nobody needs to know that. But and I'm assuming you're a junior. Is that right?
I am a senior.
Senior. Okay. And this is for an English class?
Yes.
That's kind of an odd thing for an English class to do.
My teacher is he's different.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
it's not a bad assignment, so
No.
could be worse.
Yeah, I think he's just trying to help us figure out what we like and give us some insight on some stuff.
All right, cool. So, well, I guess how'd you find me?
How'd I find you?
Yeah.
Your SLC.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see any of that VinWiki stuff?
Yeah, and I saw your SLC stuff on
Mm-hmm.
What was it? I can't remember what it was, but then I started watching VinWiki and I saw that you were on there. And
Yeah, cool.
then you started talking about your SLC, and that was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My neighbors thought I was insane because, this random just thing shows up and, people are watching from their windows and stuff and just wondering what the hell I'm doing. So it's, I'm known as the guy in the neighborhood who just does weird crap in his garage. So, I could have a worse reputation.
Yeah. I'm glad my neighbors are okay with my car stuff.
That's helpful, because if you don't have cool neighbors, I think that's completely undervalued, is having neighbors who are cool with your stuff. And especially if you've got loud, obnoxious cars, you got to have some people cool with, having a transmission and sit in the driveway for a week.
Yeah. I'm glad they're okay with it, because we have a guy who builds hot rods just down the street, and
nice.
Yeah, it's good.
Right on, man. So you don't have to tell me where you go to school or anything, but what state are you from?
Utah.
Really? Oh, okay, cool. I was just in Denver. I was actually in Salt Lake a couple days ago. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, didn't really get to see. I was working, so right on. Yeah, cool part of town though. You guys got some really cool scenery and stuff. So right on, man.
Yeah, you can go from.
Go ahead.
You can go from desert in the south all the way to forests up in the northeast, and yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You kind of have all four seasons all at once if you want,
Yeah.
Cool. So you have to interview somebody who's in a field you're interested in, and that's you said automotive journalism, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what have you got for me? And hopefully, the reason I initially recorded this and was going to throw it up on the YouTubes was I figured, maybe there's other people like you out there who have questions, and if they have had the same question, maybe this will be helpful to somebody who wants to do the same thing.
Yeah. So what age did you start wanting to get into automotive journalism, or find out that you liked it?
It's a good question. I didn't find out that I was any good at it until, my late 20s. I had finished graduate school. I had a career in other things, which I still do. I still have that career in something else completely unrelated. And I had just started doing some, hanging out with some buddies, and they're like, "Hey, you want to build a race car?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's build a race car," which never happened. I never did build it. But what happened was they invited me, and they said, "Hey, at this one event 6 hours away in Milwaukee, the SCCA autocross crew just completely bailed on them. So can we come in and save them?" So I said, "Sure." And I'd bought a camera, and I'd been into photography for a little bit, and it's kind of the artistic part of things. I'd always wanted to make movies for a living, and then realized that's really hard work. And I had a professor in college who kind of killed any real desire for me to want to pursue that as a real career. Just the way he went about it and analyzed everything from color to shot selection and stuff. It was a great education, and but he ruined movies because movies weren't fun anymore. There are things to analyze, and it's like he just kind of killed it for me. So I still have that photography bug in me, and I still I appreciated really good photographs and stuff. So I brought my camera. I had purchased one at the time. And I went to this event. I helped shag cones and set up the event and that sort of thing. And I just started taking pictures, and then I posted them online in a forum where several of the magazine editors hung out. I didn't know that. I was not aware of that at the time. And he sent me a message that said, "Hey, your photos are really good. Do you want to do some work for us?" And I said, "Sure, why not? What do you want?" And I had no idea what I was doing. None. Zero. And I got introduced to a guy named Nick Licata, who is at the time the editor of Camaro Performers magazine. And also I believe he's the current editor of Fast Fords or something, Fast Fords, Mustangs, that sort of thing. I think that's what he does now. And he sat me down for like an hour over the phone and just kind of gave me the whole rundown of here's how the business works. Here's what we want you to do. Here's how we want you to do it. And, just go out and photograph some things. And at the time I was broke. Like I had bills to pay. I had graduate loans to pay off, and the career field I chose, it doesn't really pay off for at least until another decade later. I mean, it's one of those things that they don't tell you this up front, but it starts paying better much later in life. Once you've got 10 years of experience. And so I was really dying for money. And he says, "Hey man, this will pay you $400 if you shoot, go out, find the cars, shoot it, edit it, and send it to me." It's like, $400, all right. And I said, "Well, who writes the words? Because everybody's got to write the words for it." And he goes, "Well, we got a guy who does that. But if you want to do it, we'll double the pay. He'll pay $800 for the work." And English is easily the worst subject I've ever had.
Same for me. I'm a math guy.
My ACT score was a 25, and the only reason I got a 25 was because my math and my science were in the 30s, but my reading and comprehension was in the 17 or 18. And I think you get a 17 just for spelling your name correctly on the ACT. So so writing was not my strong point. So I'm always impressed with people with really good vocabularies and they can use it well and that sort of thing. So I thought, what the hell? I mean, the worst they're going to say is no. They're just going to reject my writing. And so I just started writing, and I looked at the magazines. I saw what they were doing, sort of emulated a little bit, but had to throw my own flavor with some jokes and a couple other things in there. And I turned it in, and I not only did I do well, but I did well enough to get the cover of the magazine, plus the very little editing to the article at all. And that's kind of what kicked it off. And I'm like, I can make money doing this. Holy cow, So I just decided, I'd say late 20s, really.
Yeah, late 20s.
Yeah.
All right. So did your parents play a role in this? I mean, late 20s, what did they think of it? What did they think of you doing all this stuff?
My mom was pretty, I don't really have a dad, and whatever. I mean, it's kind of a non-subject. My mom has always been supportive of the artistic stuff that I do. And she was very proud of that. I mean, she was proud of the graduate school stuff and all that other crap, but I think she was more proud of doing something artistic and that sort of thing, because I think that was something she always wanted to do, but she was so good in math that, her creative side was never allowed to come out. And so I think she was kind of envious envious and a little jealous that I was able to express some artistic stuff. So she's more than supportive of the things I do. I mean, she always kind of says, do it, but also at the same time, realize you have to you got to put food on the table. So just make sure whatever you do pays you well. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, very supportive folks.
Anybody else give you support, and your friends, like you said earlier?
At the time, I wasn't super connected in the automotive world. So folks were kind of like, oh, neat. It's another guy with a camera. Who cares? Which, I completely understand that. Because there's a million guys out there with cameras who think they can do this work. But the truth of the matter is it takes it takes the creative process, and you have to understand how cars work, and you have to understand what makes cars look good and what doesn't make cars look good. So, it's easy. It's harder than just taking a picture of a car at Cars and Coffee or something, for that example. So, I got support later from the automotive world when they started seeing my work, because all the automotive guys read all the magazines. I mean, car guys are car guys and gals and women too. So they read the magazines.
Yeah.
They start seeing your name come up a few times, more than once, and especially in some prestigious places like Hot Rod. Hot Rod's a big one. Hot Rod's pretty hard to get into if you're a photographer.
Yeah.
And so I was in there at least once, possibly twice, and that's when the gears started turning, and people in the field, once you get a good reputation of being able to work with people, being able to deliver, your reputation grows. So word of mouth spreads pretty easily after that, and then there's a saying in our world, which is you're only as good as the last set of photographs you turned in. So if automotive journalism is something you want to do, I suggest taking photography classes, taking information on like filmmaking, that sort of thing, but also take writing. Because I suck so bad at writing, I made it a huge focus for me. And the best way I've found to become a good writer is to read really good writers and understand how good writing is put together. And I'm not talking, Stephanie Meyer or any of that 50 Shades of Grey crap, or any, I'm talking like Hemingway. My do I have it? The book that changed my life. Where is it? Oh shoot, I have like 6 copies of it, and I've given it away. It's right over there. I found it. Found it. Hardcover edition of Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. I cannot stress this book enough, and you kind of have to be in like the right frame of mind, in my opinion, to do this, because how would I put it? It's a heavy book. It's a really, really heavy book, and it's all about finding quality in life. What do you like? What do you like to do? And whatever it is you're going to do, if you're going to be a mechanic or a garbage man, or you're going to be, you're the next Stanley Kubrick or whoever, right? Do whatever it is you do with quality. And then he spends 500 pages describing what he thinks quality is. So, but it's all about a trip he took from Minnesota to San Francisco on a motorcycle. So it's really neat.
Nice.
It's like a 95% true story. Several people have gone back and interviewed the people that he met on his trip, and they kind of confirm a good chunk of his story. So I cannot recommend that book enough to just kind of get your mind right on what you want to do. So writing was always my crappy, just the worst part of my existence. So I worked really hard on it, and I've got staring at 2 books that I've published. So, you work on it, you'll get better. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else you would have done besides that, or?
As far as what?
Like, anything else you would have rather done? Would you rather just done photography or without the writing part?
I think because at the time I needed the money, I was willing to do the writing part of it. And to me, the writing is not hard. Writing in automotive terms can be challenging because a fair amount of it is very dry, very, very dry. Oh, it's got a, 1X,
Yeah.
1X Pro Charger and 345, 17, 18, whatever wheels. You can almost just list some of the stuff you have. So you have to come up with creative ways of stating the same thing over and over again. And in the beginning, you get like this little creative piece.
Yeah.
At the very end, you get a creative piece. You can kind of tie those two things together with a theme. But would I have done it differently? No. I mean, I was able to, I took all that money, all of it, and I squirreled it away. And then I paid off my student loans. So my regular job was was the job that paid the bills. And then all the photography money that came in went immediately to all my student loans. So I paid off all my student loans within 6 years. So it's just a matter of
awesome.
Yeah, and it was and it's opened a lot of doors. I had some really good mentors. So one of the suggestions, which you're doing currently, which is a really good idea, is reach out to people, ask to talk to them, and kind of bend their ear and get their opinion, because you're going to get 100 different people. They're going to give you 100 different opinions. So you kind of have to find the path that works well for you. And I've been lucky to run into several people who are willing to take the time, show me the ropes, really walk me through it. And as this goes back to my mom, her big thing is, Eric, be coachable. Be coachable, which means if somebody's taking the time to teach you something, don't be an ass about it. So yeah. Respect the fact that they're taking the time to do it. And I was in a job review once, and they said to me, they gave me some feedback, and I got defensive. And I'll be really honest, I got defensive. I was like, that's not me, and that's bull crap, and I'm not like that, and blah blah blah. And my boss looks at me and says, "Would you rather have me not to tell you that?" And I said, "All right, fair point." And she explained this to me.
Yeah.
If I didn't care, I just wouldn't tell you. And she was kind of blunt about things, but to be fair, she had a very good way of saying, "Look, I'm telling you this because I want you to be better." And one of the mentors that I had was a guy named Scott Parkhurst. I just talked to him yesterday. Really super cool guy, former editor of Popular Hot Rodding, lives actually here out in Minnesota, is sort of close to me. Super cool guy, willing to give you pretty much the roadmap on how to do this. And there's several ways to do this. Okay. If you want to be a freelance guy, that's one way to do it. If you want to be a career guy in the automotive field, they're two very different paths. Okay. So all depends on kind of what you want to do. And both really have positives and negatives. So I can tell you about both of them if you want, but it's your questions.
Sure. Let's expand on that. Let's get some more information on this.
Okay.
I need to write a whole big essay on stuff, so let's fill it.
Cool. Well, the nice thing is once I post this to YouTube, you'll have a full transcript of what we talked about. So you can drop direct quotes. Yeah, exactly.
And I don't even have to take a bunch of notes.
There you go. Yeah, that's perfect. All right, good deal. So so there's two kind of paths to this, and in the kind of automotive journalism world, a lot of depending on which publication you go to, a lot of these places don't care about journalism as much. That's neat, and the fact, but you need to be able to write. You need if you're going to work as a full-time person in one of those, for like a magazine or an online place or something, you have to be able to write. And a lot of people I know did not go to college to write, but they're just really good at it. Scott, for example, my mentor, I don't think has a college degree, but is an excellent editor. Can edit. English is just he's superb in it. So he was able to get in the door that way. But a lot of guys get a journalism degree, but just happen to like cars, so they get in there. Places like Car and Driver, Road and Track, those sorts of things. Those are journalism guys.
Yeah.
And gals. They that's their bread and butter, but they just happen to like cars, so they go that direction. Some of the other ones, Carcraft, Hot Rod, that sort of thing, kind of work their way up the chain. They started as an associate editor, just contributing stories, that sort of thing, and they're paid a salary. To be honest, it's you'll have to move for those jobs. You'd have to move to California where they are. And the sad reality is the cost of price of living in California is quite high where their studios are. And what they pay is not great, not great living. But what you do get is you get to travel, you get to go all these cool things, you get hooked up with all these different people. And what Scott told me, he goes, even the editors, the top of the food chain as far as being a journalist, those jobs are just windows into the next job you get, because editors don't stick around very long, and when their kind of career starts to come to an end, they use all those connections to then get jobs in the automotive aftermarket field, or that sort of thing. The longevity is if you really want to be like a long-term guy, you got to be in the publishing end of things. Guy briefly familiar with Ed Zinke, was kind of one of those guys who's a career publisher, but he was on the publishing side of things, and he just really loved cars, and that was his passion. Print media is starting to go away, unfortunately, which kind of sucks. So everything's kind of moving online, and the pay is not following it. The subscription rates are down, ad rates are down. 10 magazine, which used to be Source Interlink, had a huge layoff a couple years ago. I remember tons of my buddies got laid off, like 100 of them all in one day, just like that, got the pink slip. So the bad, that's kind of the good and bad of it. The good part is you get hooked up with all sorts of people. You get to meet all sorts of great folks. Yeah. Go to some really kick-ass events and be a part of some really cool stuff. And you get invited everywhere. People are always happy to see you. That sort of thing. That doesn't always happen in my job. I don't show up and people are happy to see me. So it's nice to be it's nice to go to work and people are like, hey, Eric's here. All right. Yay. As opposed to, oh, here he is. Lovely. So, yeah, it's just nice to go where people like you. So, I mean, there's a lot of cool, and you get to do some really cool stuff within those confines of being in the actual, publishing industry. If you're going to be a freelancer, freelancers, you're 1099, which means that they don't take any taxes out of your check. You got to pay your own taxes. You got to pay your own way into events sometimes. So most of the time you'll get like a media pass or something. Yeah. So you just contact the site organizer and say, look, I'm so-and-so and I'm scouting for so-and-so. How it works is I would contact my editor or whoever it was, maybe half a dozen at a time. Like if I was going to like a big event like LS Fest, or if I was going to Carcraft, or if I was going to Street Machine National or something, I would say, look, guys, I'm going to be there, and do you need anything? And then they would say, oh, yeah, I'm looking for A bodies. I'm looking for F bodies. I'm looking for a blue truck, and then I just go out and start looking for trucks. Yeah, that's just kind of how it worked. And again, my name started getting put out there, and they started calling me when they would have events. And they're like, hey, we need a third photographer, because at those big events, they shoot probably 10 or 15 cars in a weekend, and then they've got content for 6 months, and they can knock it out quick. So if they have another photographer like me, they'll pay me a flat rate to come out, and I just shoot whatever they tell me to shoot, and it worked out for me. But again, you're constantly, they call it the hustle. You're always hustling, which is I'm trying to, I found a really cool car, so I got to contact all my editors and be like, hey, I found this really sweet Corvette. And then I got to go to, the Corvette magazine. I got to go to, sometimes maybe car, depends on the niche of the particular car I found. And then they say yes or no.
Yeah.
And then I go back to the owner and say, okay, yes, I got a yes from this. And that's 95% of the game. Going out and finding the cars. If there's a really cool story to the car, or it's a really cool car, or both. A really cool story will sell a feature way better than a really cool car. It was the one that comes to mind right away is the very first one I did, where the guy, his name's Tom, actually just lives about 2 blocks from me. His dad passed away he was in the military. He was a pilot, a helicopter pilot, and he was in a crash and was killed in a crash. So when he was a kid when they sold all his cars. He had a Corvette and a Camaro and a couple other things. He's a big car guy, and he died. Yeah. And to kind of help pay for the estate, they sold all of his cars. Well, fast forward 15 years, this guy happens to be flipping through one of those Auto Trader magazines and finds the exact car, not one that looks like it, the same VIN number. Okay, so that was, and he restored it and made it look really cool. So that was kind of the bonus, but the story was what really sold it. So if you can get some cool stories out of it, that's the way to do it. So you're always hustling, always, all the time, trying to sell stuff to people, and the money's is okay. There's only a few. Trying to think. Robert McGaffin's probably the one that comes to mind, where he's a full-time freelance guy, and he gets hired on part-time, sometimes at other places, to do photo edits and that sort of thing. There's a couple others out there too that do it as a full-time gig, but it's becoming pretty hard to just be a photographer in the industry, because, like I said, everybody's got a camera, and professional equipment is more accessible these days. And so I mean, and I know that Robert only photographs. He's excellent. He's an excellent photographer, does really good work. He doesn't write any of his stuff. So I think that kind of made me stand out as a freelancer, because I did both. I was able to photograph, okay, good enough, but then also write good enough, to where, and I was able to turn things around.
Yeah.
So, my thing is do it because you like it, not because you need to eat. Because the freelance stuff can dry up pretty quick, and you're traveling a lot on your own dime. The hotels you're staying at are on your own time, that sort of thing. And you have to build a pretty good network of people on your own. Whereas if you work in the industry, like for a company, you start building connections pretty quickly. So between those two, there's good and bad.
Yeah.
One is a steady paycheck, and you get to do some really cool stuff. The other one is you're free to do whatever you want. You can work for any magazine you want. You can work for any vacation you want. You can take years off if you want, and come back whenever you want. That's kind of happened to me recently, where I kind of, life and family started to take over, and I realized that, somebody approached me to write a third book. So I said, what the hell? I'll write a third one. And so you can always come back pretty much at any time. The downside to working at the publications, the big ones, is that you're traveling a lot, and it's kind of a young man's game.
Yeah.
Because you're running around a lot, you're traveling a lot, you don't have a lot of time for relationships. But on the flip side, you get to do a lot of really cool stuff. You go to SEMA, you get to go to PRI, and they'll send you there, they'll pay for it, that sort of stuff. So total trade-off. What you want to do. I chose to go the freelance route because I liked my freedom and I like the autonomy, and I had another job that paid all the bills anyway. So it's I did it as a way to just be creative and do fun stuff. So again, you're going to get 100 different answers from 100 different people. So
yeah. Yeah, freelance sounds good. I would probably do that because
sure.
Right now I'm working towards getting my welding and composite certificates.
Sure.
So nice. I'd probably go work in the aerospace and stuff and
nice.
Do all that. Hopefully get an engineering degree and then build the cars.
Yeah, there you go.
Be great.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
What sort of cars are you into? What do you want to build?
Anything really.
Okay.
I like your SLC. I do like that stuff, the kit car stuff, even though it's not a kit car, it's its own thing.
But yeah, it is what it is.
I think designing and building one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think designing and building one of those would be really, really fun. Like my own monocoque chassis, my own
sure
everything. Yeah, I think that would be really fun. And,
yeah. Okay. Yeah, there's a guy around here who did that. He took a Lotus Elise and put a BMW V10 in there. Local guy named Dustin Anthony. It was really cool, and it was neat. And he ended up going to SEMA, and also he got invited to SEMA with his car and stuff. And I think he got like third or something in the Young Gun Builder Award. He's under 27, so that was cool. So yeah, Is there a school for that sort of thing, or are you just gonna? What are you gonna do?
Well, Utah Valley University has a really cool custom shop. I don't think I'm gonna go do that because I've helped build custom cars before. I kind of know what I'm doing. I just want to get certificates for that stuff. But yeah, And I'm taking engineering, physics classes, and just
cool. So you've got, I don't know, 6 or 8 months left to go. Do you have a plan for post high school?
Yeah, probably get on at an aerospace place. Northrop Grumman is probably where I'm gonna work.
Okay.
So build F-35s.
Yeah, if they ever finish those things.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, don't they? This is just my cursory knowledge, but they aren't they having all sorts of like software issues, and it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. Is that right?
Yeah, it's not really working out very well.
Yeah, it's cost the military.
I mean, where I'm going, it's gonna be fine, but I don't deal with computers and stuff. It's not what I do.
Right on.
So that's not my problem.
So you're going for the welding and engineering part of things?
Yeah, welding, composites, and engineering.
Okay, cool. If you want to do my big thing is start taking photographs now, if that's something you want to do. If you want to be a photographer or a freelancer, my suggestion is start taking photographs now. Learn as much as you can about photography, about style. Look at people's work. You copy people's work. That's totally fine, because it'll start giving you a style of how to do it. Learn Photoshop. Okay. I got a lot of guys are like, oh, that's cheating. Bull crap. I don't care. Learn Photoshop. You're going to have to.
Yeah.
That's not super hard. I taught myself how to do it. It's not super hard. If I can do it, trust me.
Yeah. I have friends who do Photoshop.
Yeah. You'll be just fine.
Yeah.
But it's easier to do everything right the first time and then not have to fix it in post. So, my suggestion is my suggestion is just start building a library or a portfolio. Thank you. Of photographs, and then when you approach, you'll reach out to folks, approach some of the editors, and say, "Look, here's, I found a car, this car," and then you kind of, give them some previews of it. You don't shoot it right away; you just take previews and then you shoot it later. Is to you can go to the editor and look, and because they don't know you from anybody. Okay, they don't know you from.
Yeah.
You're one of a million people going, "Can I photograph for your magazine? Please pay me." And you hear that crap all day long. So what would make you stand out is if you have a pretty good portfolio of different, really good interior shots, really well done exterior shots, really good engine photos, that sort of thing, and try to match the style with the publication, because they're all different. They all want different things. Hot Rod has a different look than Carcraft does. And same with Super Street. I did some work for Super Street. Theirs is very, flashy and lots of lights and very dynamic photos. That's very HDR sort of stuff. Whereas Carcraft, hey man, they're all about making things look real. The homegrown stuff and making it look that way. So if you can get yourself a good portfolio, you can say to them, I found this car. Will you like to, can I do a feature on it? Here's my portfolio. You can see the type of work that I do, and I'm going to do the same good work for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're going to do this, you're going to go down that route. Build a portfolio now. Take pictures of your friends' cars. Go down the street to that hot rod place that you said. I'm serious. Volunteer to take photos of their stuff. Start building.
Yeah.
You have access to some cool cars. That's, you have the opportunity to build your portfolio.
Yeah. If I find a car that kind of meets what one publication is going after, kind of copy their work with pictures on that car to, so it fits in with all their, okay.
Yeah. And each place has a different writing style. So like, if you look at Road and Track is a totally, they're writing for your middle class, 35 to 45, people with fair amount of disposable income. So that upper middle class. Road and Track is written for a particular group. Carcraft is written for a different group, and just make sure that you can understand the different styles of those writing, if you choose to do the writing part. But feel free to emulate stuff, and some photographers won't tell you how they do certain things because it's kind of a trade secret for some folks. But I'm kind of at that point in my life and career where I don't really care if people find out how I did it. So bend people's ear, ask them how they did stuff, and if they tell you to go pound sand, then oh well, it's worst they can say is no.
Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you got anything else you want to know, or questions you have?
So doing my research, because I couldn't find specifically automotive journalists, it was just journalists and gender roles, because my teacher wants me to ask about that. So
okay.
Yeah, like how many people, or what's the main gender in the automotive journalism?
It's most, to be frank, it's all dudes. It's straight up all. And that's not to say that we're not wanting more women in the field. I just assume a lot of women aren't into it. And that's fine. My wife doesn't care. My daughter doesn't care. Even though they see me doing stuff all the time. So, I wrote an article a while back about how to get more women into the motorsports field, automotive stuff. And in my opinion, a lot of things I think kind of have to change, because there is somewhat of a good old boys club, to be fair. But at the same time,
it is.
It is. However, at the same time, if you are a woman in the field, it's odd. It's it's kind of a positive, because people go, oh, well, that's different. If look at Annika Patrick, for example. Was she the best race car driver? No. Mm-hmm. But was she really, really good at marketing herself? Hell yeah. And to be frank, I would do the same thing. If I went into a female-dominated sport and they're like, oh my God, the only man to ever, go into this realm, hell yeah, I'm going to exploit that. And I don't fault her one bit for doing it.
Yeah.
She made her money. Good for her, Mm-hmm. So
yeah.
She wasn't a great role model in that respect, as far as, empowering women. But I think that there's opportunities to do stuff, get them involved, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. I've long said the whole bikini contest thing has really got to go away. It's just stupid. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I think it's dumb.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They had a couple places I worked. I won't name who they are. Said, Eric, hey, can you photograph this event? I said, sure. I said, well, can you, bikini contest 2, it starts at 2:00. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And they said, well, what do you mean? I said, I'm not going to photograph it. I think it's dumb. I think it's disrespectful to my wife to do that. And, I'm just not going to do it. And they said, well, fine, we'll cut your pay. I said, do whatever you got to do. And they did. Yeah. But at least they knew where I stood, and it was just a personal thing. I wasn't, and they did it themselves and that sort of thing. And they're trying to appeal to a certain audience. Yeah. I get it, but I just said no. I've worked with women in the field, and I worked at a repair shop for a while. There was a woman who came in and worked as a tech for me for a while. And she had asked me, so what's it like to work here? And I said, look, if you don't have thick skin, get out. You can't take a joke. You got to get out of the field now. Everybody makes fun of everybody. You're not special. Okay. So don't take it personally if people give you a and you work in a group of dudes, that's what they do. They rip on each other all day long. And if you can't handle it, then don't be it. And the other thing is she was relatively new. Yeah. And I said, look, everybody is going to assume you're incompetent until you prove yourself otherwise. And that's not because you're a woman. That's because you're a brand new tech who nobody knows. And we have no idea if you're any good at this or not. So stick around, play along with some of the jokes. You can even give jokes back. That's totally fine. But just let some time go by before people start realizing, oh, you do know what you're doing. And that was every single tech who walked through the door. Didn't matter, man, woman. I had he's like, well, I've passed all my ASE certs and I'm a L1 and blah. And I'm like, I don't care. You're doing oil changes until you don't blow up an engine. And then I'll give you a break. Then I'll give you a coolant flush and then see how you do with that. Just because you can pass a test doesn't mean you know how to wrench on a damn car. So, just cool your jets there, bro.
Yeah, I know that. In my auto class at high school, now I'm in third year, so we don't really have that. Everybody knows how to wrench. Everybody knows pretty much what they're doing.
Right.
And we all rip on each other. That's how the auto class is.
It's kind of how it goes.
But first year it was, if you didn't know how to wrench, you got out of the way. And
Yep.
Exactly. No matter what test you've passed, you got out of the way if you don't know how to wrench. So.
Yeah, and there's just certain things that just come with experience, You can't take a test and be like, 'cause I remember I passed the AAC test without even realizing it. My boss sat me down one day. He's like, all right, you got to do these computer learning things, Eric, before I started. I'm like, okay. And I started going down the list, not knowing that I was supposed to stop halfway through. And because I was going towards the management route, not the tech route. So I figured, well, maybe I'm supposed to know these tech things. I passed half the ASE tests without even just not knowing it. And I just thought it was just part of the job. So that should tell you something. That should tell you something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any ethical issues within this career, or?
Not really. I guess kind of the only one is when I would photograph a car or something, I would make it very clear up front over many discussions. I said, look, 95% of the hurdle of getting your car in a magazine is getting the editor to say yes to that first initial, hey, here's a car. Can I go shoot it? That's 95% of the hurdle.
Yeah.
If I screw up photographing it, then it can get rejected. It can get killed. It'll kill a story.
Mm-hmm.
So I made it very clear to everybody up front. I can't guarantee if or when the magazine will get published with your car in it. I have no timelines. They tell me like 2 weeks before. And to be honest, I don't get paid unless that story runs. Straight up. So I have a vested interest in making sure that those get published. But to be honest, I don't control that. So that's kind of really the only ethical thing that I ran into. I've run into, actually, I take that back. There are some ethical considerations when working with sponsorships. Had several sponsorships over time where some sponsors are totally cool if you work with other sponsors. Some sponsors don't. They're like, oh, you're working with that company over there, then no, we're not going to work with you. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And just making sure that they're happy. And I guess, like if you have a sponsorship and they give you parts for things. So for my books, I had to get sponsored to build some of the stuff I was building. And if something goes wrong or they built something poorly, you can never, ever badmouth them because you will never get another sponsorship ever in your life. You get on a list. It's a secret list somewhere. There's a secret Facebook, several Facebook forums where some of the people in the automotive industry, which by the way is a relatively small group, talk about, so-and-so said that, and so-and-so trashed us doing this. And people get blacklisted pretty easily. So you do kind of have to play the game a little bit, which is, hey, something went wrong, but always blame yourself. That's what I do. I didn't install it right. I drove it too hard. I didn't know how it worked. And it's easy. It's easy for me because again, I don't make my career out of this, so I can go, I'm an idiot. I'm a moron. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So clearly, that was the user error. It's pretty easy to say that, and it's probably true. 95% of the time, it's probably true because I'm an idiot.
Yeah, good point. I know that all too well. Didn't install that correctly. Yeah.
Yep. That cross-threaded that crap.
Ooh, yeah.
Anything else on your list?
No, that's pretty much it for questions.
Okay.
Anything you want to talk about with me or?
No, I mean, you sound like you got some decent plans lined up, which sounds like a pretty cool job, actually. It'd be cool to go, no, I worked on an F-35. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, as far as the field goes, you meet a lot of really cool people. You shake a lot of hands, make a lot of contacts. It's kind of a fun job, in that respect. Again, I wouldn't say it's easy to do as a full-time, this is how I make all my money career. But it's certainly something that, it can earn you a little bit of extra money and get you connected in the field. And automotive's a really tough space to make money at. A lot of people don't make money.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, hey, man, you've got my email, and feel free. I'm more than happy. Actually, matter of fact, those who are still listening to the podcast here, if I'll post my email at the bottom. If you have questions, I'm more than happy to answer other questions. And Kayde, man, if you want to get in, if this is something you want to pursue, more than happy to work with you, teach you what I know. And kind of pass it down the line. So email me, and yeah, man, wish you the best of luck. Hope it goes well.
All right, cool. Thank you.